Many students are asking me, we are getting questions regarding agile and predictive, and we are not sure which approach to use when. So I decided to make this video and basically segregate some of the mindset, some of the ways you required for agile as well as predictive environment. Now, this is inspired by Andrew Books, in which he has given some of the ways how you can segregate it, including my own work. So, there are few tips that you can use all the time for a traditional project manager. The most important thing, identification and analysis of a stakeholder, is done throughout the project. It's not that you just identify the stakeholder in the start and that's it. No, 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 no. You identify the stakeholder, you make power interest, stakeholder current engagement metrics, desired engagement metrics, and you keep on doing that throughout the project. That is an important concept to understand. And if a new stakeholder is identified, you go back to the first step. And same goes regarding the risk. Identification of risk happens throughout of the project. Actually, both of these processes are very identical in this way. You identify the risk, you rank the risk qualitatively, quantitatively, you plan the positive and negative risk response. Positive risk, of course, known as opportunity, negative risk, known as threat. You rank them, you plan their responses, you implement them, you monitor the risk, and throughout the risk, if any risk occurs or if any new risk basically comes, you put them back to the risk register and you follow the same process. In predictive or traditional environment, we have a detailed plan for doing everything. We always follow the plan. Predictive project manager is a someone who does not like change. He does not like change at all. He is trying to reduce, to eliminate the change. He's trying to minimize or remove the uncertainty from the process, and he does not allow any change without going through proper change control procedure, without going through proper change control procedure. Because if the change are added without going through proper change control procedure, you have a scope creep. And scope creep is something that the project manager, a traditional project manager, actually dislikes. He's against that. So, if any stakeholder wants to add something, any stakeholder want to remove something, there is a request from anyone. Anyone can request a change. This is an important concept to understand. Anyone can request a change. Most of the time, students ask, who can request the change? So here is the answer. Any stakeholder can request the change. So how do they request the change? They put it through the change log, and that change is basically checked from scope, schedule, cost, quality through all plans, and then they are implemented. All changes need to be assessed and reviewed. Remember, journey of change request is very important in the predictive environment. So this is very important. If you are going to do any kind of change, whom you consult, who is the person you think you should consult? Always consult the project management team, because they know how the work is being done. Always have their expert judgment. They know how the particular task will be done. And as a project manager, whatever decision you make, your final decision should always benefit the objective of the project. For example, there are two changes. One change is basically changing something in schedule, and the other thing is that changing something in cost. You analyze and you see, okay, doing crashing, that is reducing the schedule, can impact the cost, but right now cost is the most important factor for us. So you will go for the that change accordingly. And as a traditional manager, you do use Primavera, Microsoft project, but using a whiteboard and a marker can help you solve a lot of problems. Actually, I have seen so many project managers using whiteboard and marker to track their progress, to track the key deliverables. So in this way, you can track all those things. All scope changes should be assessed how it will impact other parts: schedule, cost, quality, resource, communication, risk, procurement, stakeholder, and so on. So you always go through and check how these things interlink in one another way. And whenever you are doing estimation, remember we have analogous estimation, that is considered as top-down estimation or same estimation. We have parametric estimation, which parameters are used. Then we have three-point estimations, triangular and beta distribution. And then we have bottom-up estimation. Bottom up estimation is the most accurate estimation. Although it is a little bit time consuming, but this is the most accurate estimation. So try using bottom up estimation whenever you are doing estimation for a predictive environment, because it gives you a better estimate. So this is a very important thing you need to do. Because as a role of a project manager, as Pembroke says, you are an integrator. You are combining all part, scope, schedule, cost. You are integrating one part. If you put more effort to one part and sacrifice another part, it is possible that you miss a key deliverable. A key deliverable could be missed. Another important thing, as a project manager, you are always using lesson learned register from the lesson learned repository. So it's your job, even in the managed knowledge area, it clearly states that you use the old knowledge, you integrate it with the new knowledge and update the lesson learned register, and at the end you put in the repository. So let me put risk, issue, and lesson learned in a context. Let's say a risk is identified. It was written in the risk register. Now the risk has occurred. The risk become an issue. So if it was identified or unidentified, you put it in the issue log. Once it was in the issue log, you resolve that issue. Once that issue is resolved, you close that issue and you put the lesson from that lesson learned register. You put the lesson from the risk registers and the issue log into lesson learned register. And lesson learned register is updated throughout the project. Yeah, lesson learned register is updated throughout the project. And once you finalize the project, you close the project, you update lesson learned repository. So lesson learned register becomes a part of lesson learned repository. So procurement is a very important thing in the project. You identify the what are the things you need to do at the end of the project. When you are closing, ensure all your procurements are closed. You have paid the amount, you have paid the money, because if your procurement are not closed, there is possibility that the project can have some lags and your progress can get slow in the next projects also. You need to satisfy your vendor also. Customer is the important part of the project, but vendors are also very important part of your project. Now, sometimes the project is not closed formally, means the project is terminated prematurely, or the need of the project is no need there. You don't need that project anymore. So what do you do then? Even if the project is terminated early, you close project formally, you close administratively, you close the project as it was agreed in the project management plan. Remember how you are going to close the project, it is mentioned in the project management plan. And as we say that whenever you are taking a decision, involve the project team along the way. So when you are breaking down estimating, use the project team with you, because they are the best people to tell what things you can do. And quality is what a customer pays for. So agree the quality standard with the customer. You do cost of quality. What is the cost of conformance, cost of non-conformance with the customer, and you check that quality standards are being done. Remember, quality assurance or managed quality is above the control quality. It is better than the control quality. Then how the basically quality journey moves or how the deliverable journey moves. You produce the deliverables, you get deliverables verified in the control quality internally. But the most important thing is validate scope, because customers are the best people to check a deliverable for scope conformance and whether the requirements of quality were met or not, because they are actually paying you. They are the people who set the quality standards or with whom you set the quality standards. So sit together with them and finalize the quality standards. Now, resource is a very important topic nowadays in PMP, since we have 42% regarding people and communication, stakeholder, and resource is all about people in the PMP. If I say you master these three areas and you get 42%, it is entirely true. So whenever you are solving the conflict, whenever you are in the conflict resolution, always try to see what is the level of the conflict, how you can resolve this conflict in the best possible way. Is it level 1, like slightly disagreement, or is it level 5, there's a war, the conflict is at very high level? So you identify the level and you solve the conflict accordingly. Some conflicts are good to solve, like they add in the project objective. Some conflicts you can't solve, so you need to know whether the conflict is better to solve or not. And whenever you are solving the conflict, try to get a win-win situation and use your emotional intelligence, active listening to analyze your own feelings and the feelings around other people. Emotional intelligence is a very important thing that you need to use whenever you are solving a problem or resolving a conflict. So, coming back to the communication management plan is all about right information to right people at right time to have the right impact. So, before communications are sent out the stakeholder, like you don't send work performance information, you send work performance report, and you ensure to analyze the needs are properly met. You deliver what was agreed and you deliver them in the best possible way. Okay, so this was all about communication. And whenever you are selecting a seller, always ensure that the contract that you are going to benefit the organization, and you can also benefit it from you, the seller can benefit from also it. So mutual benefit should always be there. Try to get the mutual benefit. And whenever you are engaging with a stakeholder, try to tailor the approach according to the requirement of each stakeholder. Understand the culture diversity. Understand what this stakeholder need. Maybe some stakeholder prefer written, but this stakeholder may prefer audio or video communication. So find out what communication he needs. So this was basically all about the predictive environment and actually the mindset we need to have while solving the predictive questions. Now, there are 6 leadership styles in predictive, and PMI basically suggests you use servant leader model. Now, coming to the agile, in agile, you have to be servant leader. Most of the time, the role of the agile project manager or an agile practitioner is as a servant leader. He is giving the power to the team, he is empowering the team, and his major job is removing the impediments, removing the roadblocks from the team. He removes the roadblocks, he gives them tools that they need to succeed while staying out of their way. So this is the job of a servant leader. Now, this is very important. There are, like, when we talk about agile, especially from the PMP perspective, in agile, most of the predominant approach is Scrum. In Scrum, there are 3 major roles: product owner, Scrum master, and development team. The project manager can play any of these roles, but as a general rule, we consider him as a Scrum master. So when you are considered the Scrum master, you need to make sure that the product owner, he prioritizes the product backlog, he gets the requirement, he prioritizes the product backlog, and he prioritized the product backlog with the stakeholders, because product backlog is basically the job of a product owner, and all the user stories that are in the product owner, they have been put by the customer, they have been made by taking the requirement from the customer. So you made a product backlog, but on the customer product owner made the product backlog. He prioritized using the different techniques, using Moscow and all those techniques. Remember, only product owner has the authority to prioritize product backlog. Neither scrum master nor sponsor nor development team can do. In agile we are very much careful about which person has which job. So this is the job of the product owner to prioritize the product backlog. Let's talk about something about the team. We try to make the team co-located, sitting within the area of 10 meter or 33 feet, so that they can have osmotic communication. They can overhear those things. And we use Kanban boards, task board, burn up chart, burn down chart, risk graph, cumulative flow diagrams, value stream mapping, all those things. Face-to-face communication is simply the most important communication. And we don't use hi-fi tools. We use high touch, low tech, means whiteboard, papers, and all those things. We provide them with the sticky notes. They actually use a lot of these sticky notes, the whiteboard markers, and all those things. Information radiator, as I was saying, burned up chart, burned down, are used all that time. If any problem occur, the problem is solved by the team. We use daily stand-ups for, and we use discuss what are the level of the risk, what are the level of the progress, the three questions for the 15-minute daily stand-up. But make sure for all those things you have a safe environment which people are working. They are allowed to make the mistake. They are allowed to have a disagreement. They are not punished if there's a mistake. You are always there for coaching. And whenever you are working in the if you are working in a scrum environment, you are basically using taking story points or taking the velocity according to the team. The team decides how many velocity they should take depending upon the techniques they have used. Techniques like planning poker, wide band Delphi, affinity diagrams, all those things. And if you are using a Kanban board, make sure that you limit the work in progress. Limiting the work in progress is very important. If you don't limit in the work in progress, your bottlenecks will get hidden and you will not able to communicate. Communicate, one of the job of the scrum master is communicating the vision and re-communicating the vision with the team in sprint review, retrospective, and understanding what are the needs of the team. If the team is lagging, communicating with the team, having face-to-face communication, understanding what the success and failure is, how this project add into their level, what is the important thing, not to be a dictator, have good ethical values, and helping each other to respect their work, utilizing daily scrum, sprint review, sprint retrospective, which has 5 stages to generate feedback loop so that you don't need to have a like in agile environment, we don't have a lesson learn register. In agile environment, we don't have a risk register, but we use burn down chart, risk burn down chart for to manage the risk. We prioritize the product backlog with high value, high risk, and in this way we manage the risk. We have risk spike. We have iteration zero and iteration zero to manage the architectural and risk spike. We have iteration H to funnel check all those things. And then we have sprint retrospective and daily stand up to implement the lesson learned as soon as possible. So what I have just shared, if you can implement all those things in your PMP exam with this mindset, how things are in agile, how things are in predictive, I'm 100% sure you can clear your PMP exam. Thank you very much.